So hi everyone, welcome to this new session on SQL. So today will be, in our last session, we did create some views. So in some of the cases, you may not be having access to the, I'll not say having access, you may not be aware of like what views have been created. So if you want to see the list of views or all the views that have been created in your database, so basically you can come in to views section and then you can see customer orders is the view that I had created earlier. Okay. Now, so today we'll be discussing about stored procedures. Okay, so if I try to understand what is a stored procedure, so basically, um, uh, so, so a stored procedure is a compiled collection of SQL statements that performs a specific task. Okay, and it also encapsulates business logic. Then it also has reusability features. If you want to parameterize, you can also parameterize the stored procedure. And in terms of performance, also it is quite significantly improved. Okay, and then when it comes to stored procedures, they must be explicitly executed. So if you have a stored procedure, so you have to call that particular stored procedure with or without a parameter, and so basically, whenever you are creating, so it's like a wrapper that you create. So you can have multiple lines of codes wrapped into one stored procedure. So basically, when you execute that stored procedure, the entire code gets executed. Okay. Now, to create a stored procedure, so let's go ahead and understand how to create a stored procedure. Okay. So create. Okay. Create procedure, and then I will name this as get total sales by customer. Okay. Now, in this particular stored procedure, um, I will, so this is my first stored procedure. So what I'll do in this particular stored procedure, I will also include some input parameters. Okay. Now, to have an input parameter, so I will use customer ID and data type is varchar. Okay. So this is my stored procedure. Okay. Where I'll pass in customer ID, and then whatever customer ID I'm passing, depending on that, it will give me the output. Okay. Now, uh, yeah. So now create procedure name that you are defining, and if there are any input parameters, you have to provide input parameters. Okay. Now, as next, we will use this begin. Okay. And then I have to add my SQL, actual query that I want to execute. Okay. So it will be like select, okay, uh, sum of, so again, if I'm trying to use sales, now the data type of sales is varchar, so I have to convert it. Uh, so, okay, so it's not showing because I've used sum. So first I'll use cast sales as decimal 18 comma 2. Okay, select, 1 second, sum of sales as to the sales from the table from orders. Okay, and then I have to provide the condition. Okay, so let me just organize this a bit. Okay, from orders, and then I have to use a where clause where customer ID is equal to the parameter that they have created. Okay, so it will be Okay, this is the parameter that we have created, customer ID. Okay, and then we have to end it, and next we have to end the procedure. Okay, so end. So this is my procedure that will get created. Okay, so select. This indentation. I mean. Uh, this you have to give or not, it's up to you, but yeah, without this also it will work. Okay, so my query is create procedure. I mean, my stored procedure is create procedure, then the procedure name is get total sales by customer. I'm providing a parameter customer ID. I can also provide multiple parameters, and using multiple to use multiple parameters I can use comma and then provide multiple parameters as then begin. So this is my statement, stored procedure statement, or the query stored procedure query, and then end. Okay, so now basically if I go ahead and run it, okay, so I have to provide it, hmm, okay, yeah, so I have to provide the termination uh, ending the okay. Now, once I've done this, so now basically if I want to see what are the stored procedures that got created, so under programmability, so this will, you will find it in SSMS as well, okay, which is one of the most popular tools for querying when it comes to SQL Server, or even Azure as well. Okay, so under programmability, you'll see this option stored procedures. So if I go ahead and look at stored procedures, so now this is the stored procedure that I've created. Okay, now if I want to execute the stored procedure, okay, now if I right click, so create as, so script as create, script drop, so I can do all these things. Okay, now if I want to use this particular stored procedure, okay, how do I use it? Let me create a new query. Let's use this. Okay. Now, if I want to execute the stored procedure, I can use execute. Okay. Get total sales by customer. Okay. And since there is a parameter, right? So I have to provide a parameter. So if I go ahead and provide a parameter, like for example, a customer ID, CG145, okay, 20. If I use this and execute, so I'll get what is the total. Because my query within this is giving me only total sales, I'll get the total sales. Okay, so depending on what are the, or depending on how we are creating the stored procedure. Okay, now if I look at some of the other examples or real-time use cases, okay, now we can use, as I said, we can use stored procedure to encapsulate business logic and basically enable reusable complex operations. And also in terms of security, we can also improve security. Like for example, if I don't want a particular user to access some number of records using stored procedure, we can do that. So basically, rather than giving them access for the complete table, we can give them access through a stored procedure. And when it comes to Power BI or other tools, if you want to execute, so in the query part, you have to just execute this. Okay, in the SQL query, wherever you are providing SQL query, you have to basically use this particular code. So exec or execute stored procedure name, and then whatever parameter you want to pass. Okay, now um, okay, now if we look at another example. Okay, so we'll go back. Now, if I want to get, this is, so we got total sales by customer. Okay. Now, if I want to insert, okay, or if I want to insert a new order, okay, so I can also do that in my existing table. If I want to insert, I can also do that through a procedure. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll maintain the same structure, create procedure, procedure name, and then create. Okay. The two things we'll look at. So first is if I want to insert a new record in my table, okay, how do I do that? And then if I want to insert it through a stored procedure, how we will do that? Okay, first let's take a look at the query. Okay, so I want if I want to insert, so this is basically called DML, data manipulation language. So if I want to insert a new record through a query, I can do that. So insert into orders. Okay, insert into orders. So what I want to insert, what are the values I want to insert? I have to provide the exact column name where I want to insert and the values that I want to insert. Okay, now one way is ID. I'll insert ID, then order date, then customer ID and sales. Okay, so I will use insert into orders. These values. So if I take a look at orders, okay. So you see, this one is varchar, everything is varchar. Okay, so we have to provide every value, all the values in text format. Okay, so what are the values that we are providing? Values. Okay, so now we have to provide the values. So basically, uh, if I want to provide the values, so I have to provide it in text. So always text will be in quotations. Okay, so I will call it as test one, order ID, and then I will provide order date as today's. I'll just use today's date. Let me see what is the date format they are using. I want to maintain the same date format actually. Uh, okay, yeah. The year YYY and date. Okay. Okay. So I will use 2025 dash 11 dash what is the date? Okay. I will use what is the date? So, or else I'll just use 0. Okay. And then um, okay. Next I'll use customer ID. Customer ID again, the ID text one. Then I have to provide sales value, ID, order date, customer ID, and sales. For sales, I'll provide like 100 or 1000. Okay. Looking at the data. Okay, I'll provide 1000. So let me first execute this part and then we will bring it in the procedure. Okay. Now, if I want to execute this, uh, ID test. Okay. The spelling mistake here. Okay. Insert into table, column name, values. If you want to insert all the values in a column, if you just use a table name, then you have to provide all the values of the column. Like for example, if I'm using insert into orders without any column name, I'm not defining which column. So I have to provide ID, order date, ship mode, sales, and customer ID in a serial order. Okay. Otherwise, if you're using columns, so you have to provide the order in which you're providing the columns. In the same order, you have to provide the values. Okay. So now if I go ahead and execute, okay. So now it has been executed. So if I comment this part and execute or look at the select clause or use a select statement. Okay, select from orders where ID is equal to um, test one. Okay, so this is the value. Since I had not provided anything for ship modes, that's why ship mode in the ship mode it went null. Otherwise, for the rest of the columns, there was some value that was inserted. Okay. Now we will use the same query, okay, that we have created in our stored procedure. Okay, but this time we will use it with parameters. So rather than using the static values, we will parameterize it, and then when we will execute the query, so whatever values we are providing, the same values will go into our table. Okay. Now, what we have insert into so this is what we have now. So what we will do here is we created procedure, okay, and then insert order. Okay, so we will define the parameters here. Order ID, which is I'll define everything as varchar. Order date again varchar. Customer ID varchar. Okay, and finally sales. Okay, varchar. Okay, so what we have, okay. Now, in the orders, basically, rather than using the exact values or in this query, insert into orders, so we will be providing the parameters that we have created. Okay. Now, to use the parameters, we'll just use the parameter loops. Okay. Now, we'll use first order ID, then order date, then customer ID, order date, customer ID, and finally sales. Okay, so fix this. Okay, so create procedure name as begin. This time we are using a insert statement. Insert into orders, ID, order date, customer ID, sales, values. This is the value. These are the values we are providing, and then we are entering. Okay. So now our procedure name is insert order. Okay. So now if I execute, so now basically if I just refresh this, go back. So this insert order is created. Now to execute this insert order, okay, so this is where we can execute this insert order. One second. Okay, so execute. the name again. 1 second. Execute, insert. Okay. Execute insert order, and then we have to provide the values. Okay. So to provide the values, the first value will be test2, then 20. So, okay, and okay. So to provide multiple values, so this is how we get. So don't have to pass it in here. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and execute, I think we need a comma, so let me use a comma here. Okay. So now if I go ahead and take a look at my table, so let's start from 2. So now if I go ahead and execute, so basically I'm able to execute, okay, or I'm able to insert values through a stored procedure, okay, using insert part. Now, we have already inserted it. Now, next, what we will do, let's go ahead and use update. So basically, if I want to update a certain value, okay, I can also update it. Okay. Now, so to update something, so let me just comment this part. Okay. Now to update something, so I have to use the update command. Okay. So let me just show you the syntax first. Update orders, okay, and set what I want to set. I want to set ship mode, okay, update orders, set ship mode. Now I have to provide this ship mode, and on the basis of some filters only I'll be providing the ship mode. Okay, now ship mode is equal to, I'll say uh, same day. Okay, ship mode is same day, but now I don't want to change. If I use just orders set ship mode as same day, it will change everything. Okay, so I don't want that. So I want to change only on a certain row, right? So I'll use where ID is equal to test1. Okay, and I'll remove everything else. Okay, so basically, uh, update orders set ship mode is equal to same day where ID is equal to test1. So now if I execute, okay, and then I look at it, Okay, so now the ship mode has changed to same day. Okay, so same way, if I go and create a procedure, okay, on the update, I can also do that. Okay, but yeah, so you can try that from your end. So basically, what I will do, I will create the parameter here. Okay, so ID is equal to, I'll parameterize the ID. So something like this. Okay, create procedure. I will just use one parameter. I'll say update order. Where I'll define it as where can. Okay, as begin. Now here I will use the query. Okay, update orders. Set ship mode is so I'll parameterize both actually. So I'll parameterize both. So I'll create a parameter for ID, and I'll also create a parameter for ship mode. I want to also control what value I want to insert. Okay, ship mode. Um, okay, okay. Now as begin, so update orders. So set ship mode is equal to parameter at the rate ship mode, and the ID is also a parameter. Okay, so now we have two values. So create procedure, update order, ID varchar, ship mode, and this is what we have. So now if I go ahead and execute, okay, done. So next we can go ahead and look at or execute our query. So basically, this is another way of uh, uh, commenting out a particular line. So execute update order, execute update order, and then we'll provide the values. Okay, test two. So let me see the sequence. First ID and then ship mode. Okay, test two and then ship mode or shipment mode. I'll use. Um, I don't remember what are the different shipment modes. Let's see. Standard. I'll use standard. Okay. Okay. So now if I go ahead and execute, so it's executed and successful. So if I take a look at test two and execute, so that's two order date standard, and this is what we have. Okay, so this is basically how you can insert an order, and then how you can also use stored procedures, parameterize those stored procedures as well. Okay, now another scenario, if I mean, suppose you are getting some orders and the payments is pending, or maybe if you want, let's not do that. So if you want to get into, or if you want to, delete orders older than a certain date, you can also delete that. Okay, or if you want to get orders which you don't want in your records, so that also you can do that. Okay, now for that, we will use this delete statement. Okay. Now, to use delete, let me just show you how delete works first. Okay. Delete orders. Um, so in the delete, we can just use from sorry, delete from orders, and then we have to provide the filter value in the where clause, where if ID is equal to, I'll say test1. Okay, delete from orders where ID is equal to test1. So now if I go ahead and execute, okay, so now if I try to query it, test1, so you will not get any records because test1 has been deleted. Okay, now next is like if I want to use this in my stored procedure, I can also do that. So if I go back, create procedure, so I'll say it as delete order. Okay. I'll just use ID as begin, and then I'll use the page order and ID. I'll just use. Okay. And then if I execute, so my procedure is ready. So now if I want to execute my procedure, I'll just execute with the order ID. Delete order test1. Since there is one parameter, I will just use one parameter. Okay, so now if I go ahead and execute, so done. So now if I go back and look into my query to add to find, oh, sorry. So I have to execute for test2. Execute one row affected. Okay. So try to find out test2, execute. So it doesn't exist. Okay. Okay. Now if you don't see any records, so basically this is how we can, I mean, the two things. One, we saw how we can create procedures, and second, we saw how to use DML statements or data manipulation statements. Okay. So with this, we will end today's session. Thank you for joining. Thank you.